In the last week or so, Kemi Badenoch has achieved a major success. I find it hard even to admit this. She has surpassed Liz Truss's brief tenure as leader. It's a low bar, yet it offers her acclaimed competence in a party still reeling from electoral devastation. But her leadership thus far is more a testament to her knack for remaining visible rather than any significant success. It's about endurance, or rather a lack of exposure. It's about it's simply a matter. Is it a matter of? It's a matter of relevance and exposure rather than skill. That's it. And her spat with Farage is an extraordinary turnaround. Her spat should be with Starmer, not with Farage. It exemplifies her dynamic. It has less to do with policy and more to do with projecting influence in a fragmented political landscape. It's about falling off a cliff and trying to reach for whatever clump of grass is available. And Farage is that clump. Badenoch inherited a party fractured by contradictions. The populist promises of 2019 alienated the pragmatists, while disenfranchised core voters drifted to Farage's Reform Party or simply disengaged. With Reform overtaking the Tories in membership, a symbolic gut punch, Farage's midnight projector stunt highlighted the milestone, underscoring his growing relevance. And Badenoch, by contrast, appears reactive, out of touch, her leadership divined more by desperate survival than vision. And Farage's media savvy ensures that he remains a thorn in her side by juxtaposing her critique of Reform's membership to the threat of legal action. He transforms Badenoch's accusations into an opportunity for mockery. But of course, that threat of legal action we've seen before. Didn't he threaten the firm vetting the candidates with legal action? That's come to nothing. And it's about ineffectiveness on the part of Farage, ineffectiveness on the part of Badenoch. But some ineffectiveness resonates more strongly with disaffected voters than others, and Farage emerges as a fresh alternative. The irony: Farage's freedom from governmental baggage allows him to frame himself as an outsider, while Badenoch struggles to reconcile her leadership with the party's legacy of missteps and 14 years of increased chaos. Badenoch's leadership style has compounded her struggles, and actually in those 14 years, the defining feature of those 14 years is Brexit, something that Farage arguably engineered. Critics would describe Badenoch as aloof, distant and disconnected from even her parliamentary colleagues. So where does she get advice from for her stunning, scintillating PMQ contributions? Well, from the tight little circle she assembles around herself of yes-men. Her reluctance to engage beyond her close group risks alienating MPs who she desperately needs to unify. And without any clear strategy or compelling narrative, or indeed competence, her attempts to goad Labour at PMQs fall weakly, flatter and flatter than even a very well-toned pancake, overshadowed by Farage's inability to dominate discourse without even speaking. The occasional giggle or guffaw in the background, always picked up by the cameras. The Badenoch-Farage feud is Shakespearean in its absurdity. Two rivals with overlapping voter bases, squabbling like protagonists from Never the Twain, their differences more stylistic than ideological, and both fairly empty-headed. Farage's antics highlight Badenoch's weaknesses, a failure to land policy-driven blows or seize the political narrative, while Farage thrives on sound bites without any content. Badenoch's reliance on broad platitudes and scattergun attacks underscore her party's lack of direction and her own vacillation and failure to grab any headline that happens to be going. This feud symbolises a fractured right. Labour's waning honeymoon offers opportunities, but Badenoch has failed to articulate a coherent alternative as she grapples further to the right when she should be moving towards the centre. Meanwhile, Farage capitalises on this vacuum, turning dissatisfaction with mainstream politics into momentum. His rise, in fact, he should call his party Momentum. If he needs to rebrand it, he could call it Momentum. Momentum 2. His rise, while unlikely to lead to Downing Street, frankly, let's be clear about that, shifts the Overton window, forcing Badenoch to respond to reform's framing rather than defining her own. Badenoch's New Year resolution, therefore, must involve bridging the gap between rhetoric and relevance. Not even reality. She'd abandoned that long ago. And that was probably left in the fridge with Boris Johnson, or maybe even in the fridge with Putin. If she is defined by anything, she is defined by by reference to Liz Truss. That is not a way to define yourself. Oh, I've survived longer than Liz Truss. Well, so has Putin. So has Sergei Lavrov. It's defining yourself by the lowest common denominator is not a definition of competence or excellence. And Badenoch's scattergun approach at PMQs is insufficient to counter Labour, let alone Farage, and it's not as if she's up against anyone who is particularly good. Starmer is second-rate at PMQs, but he's facing somebody who is so unbelievably incompetent. It makes Jeremy Corbyn look clever. And Jeremy Corbyn actually had skill, just not in the right place. I have yet to hear of Badenoch's skill. To avoid being a footnote in parliamentary history, let alone Tory history, she must deliver a clearer strategy and reconnect with her party's base. That means she needs to reconnect with the Blue Rinse Brigade in the centre of the party that she has long since abandoned. Otherwise, her tenure may exceed Truss's, but remain a cautionary tale of missed opportunities and squandered leadership. Farage, meanwhile, will continue to haunt her, proof that in politics, visibility without substance is devastatingly effective.